A night of rioting in Varnhemstorget, a largely immigrant neighbourhood in the Swedish city of Malmö. Hundreds of people have burned dozens of vehicles and clashed with law enforcement in an outburst of anger after an act of Koran burning took place in the city. Damage to property has been substantial. At the moment, the number of victims is unknown, but there were scenes of considerable violence. The clashes erupted during the day on Sunday after an Iraqi refugee set fire to the Muslim holy book. Dozens of people came to the area to rebuke the activist. Law enforcement intervened to stop him from being attacked, and several people were arrested. Muslim leaders in Sweden have called on the government to find ways to stop such acts. Sweden dropped its last blasphemy laws in the 1970s, and the government has said it has no intention to reintroduce them.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Jordan Report, and I am your host, Robert Jordan. Everyone, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. All right, guys, I have to say this because I have to remind people all the time that I've been doing this a very long time. In fact, I was taught to research at a very young age. I was taught history at a very young age by some very, very good people. And so I learned a lot about Jews at that time. And I learned to watch Jews and how to read their publications and things like that. That's how I have the knowledge that I have. But I realized that most Americans are not like that. And most Americans don't do what I do. They don't read 10 or 15 articles before they even leave out the house in the morning. Okay? That's what I do. A lot of people are not like that as far as information. And so I can understand the confusion that Americans are having by not knowing what it is that they're actually facing. I understand that. And plus the level of deception that Americans are being faced with. Mostly on the right. The left is completely honest. The left is completely honest about telling you what their intentions are. It's the right that's deceptive. They're the ones that's lying. And Americans haven't caught on to that yet. But anyway, throughout my research, this is what I found. I found Europe. I found what was going on in Europe. I found out that it was the Jewish plan to flood these Western countries with migrants. And I followed them as it happened. All these articles that I'm showing you, I've had them the whole time. I didn't just look this stuff up. So I've been doing this a long time. This article here is 4 years old. October 2019. The Swedes have been dealing with this for well over 10 years now. Okay? And their country is almost dead. I just showed you that clip. This is what they're dealing with on a daily basis. There are parts of their country that they can't even go. Okay? But here's what's coming our way, America. Okay? Since we're going to have to sit this one out. We're going to go through this the hard way because we don't know any better. Former CEO of Scania warns Sweden is headed for civil war. Now, I heard that name is pronounced differently, but it looks like Scania to me. This is the former CEO of a trucking company has warned that Sweden is headed towards civil war due to uncontrolled mass migration. In an interview with Sweb TV, businessman Leif Asling said that the arrival of so many new migrants who have failed to integrate into Swedish society is creating a fertile ground for violent unrest. That's what I just showed you. We've taken in far too many people from outside, and we have those who come from the Middle East and Africa live in a society that we left almost 100 years ago. And he's right. The Swedes had a very, very advanced civilization. They're a highly intelligent people. I don't know how they fell into this trap, but they did. He said explosions and grenade attacks have skyrocketed in many Swedish cities, which much of the unrest being blamed on migrant gangs. Sexual assaults and violent crime is also on the rise. Osling underscored problems with integration by highlighting his own experience running Scania, where around 90 out of 100 Somalian migrants hired to work for the company were fired or left because they were unable to arrive on time or work in teams. Osling believes that the knowledge transfer necessary for migrants to cope in Swedish society could take a generation to accomplish. The businessman said he hoped the country's problems could be fixed within 10 years, but if not, civil war can ensue, necessitating that the military be called out to deal with the violent unrest in migrant areas. Well, let me tell you this, sir. It hasn't happened so far. And the military hasn't stopped it. It's only gotten worse because it's designed to get worse. This is what people don't understand. It's a death trap, and it's designed to kill you.
Because our next guest says thousands of migrants are living in an abandoned school in the heart of her neighborhood, across from her child's school. The migrants of Migrant Academy are loitering, drugging, drinking, and knocking on doors asking for cash. Not even offering to work for cash, just asking for cash. Rachel Maniscalco joins us now. Paint a picture for us. What is going on in this neighborhood where you live, where your daughter goes to school?
Thank you for having me, and thank you for bringing attention to this untenable situation. We live in Staten Island, and people know Staten Island as the most Republican borough, and we're very proud of that. I've never voted blue a day in my life, and I want that to be very clear. My daughter goes to a private Catholic school, and right across the street is a prior Catholic school that was supposed to be kept as an educational facility. And that hasn't happened. James Otto, the former borough president, assured parents that it would not be turned into condos. He wanted to keep it educational. And that was in 2018. And here we are, 5 years later.
It's a migrant condo now.
It is becoming a migrant facility.
And so what are they doing? Are they outside? Are they causing a ruckus?
Well, right now, because of how many rallies we've had and how many protests and how many parents have stepped up and been outside of the school, a lot of them come in, they don't want to stay, which is what we want. That's what we want. We want this city to understand that we are not going to take this. We are not going to take this sleeping or sitting down. These are our kids. And we don't want them to feel fearful. We fully accept legal immigration. We welcome those people.
Sure. But
we do not accept this as the way that it is.
Are the migrants behaving themselves at Migrant Academy?
This one has been open for only a brief time, about 2 weeks. However, the hotel in Travis, another part of Staten Island that was turned into a migrant shelter about a year ago, those migrants are not. They are wandering. They're in people's backyards, knocking on doors. They're not working. They're loitering. They're drinking. They're doing things. They're throwing trash. This is not sustainable. What are these people supposed to do during the day?
I guess they're supposed to loiter and smoke meth, because that's what they're doing, right?
Speak, right? She said she'd never voted blue a day in her life. She said she lives in the predominantly Republican part of New York, which is Staten Island. And yet she got these people right across the street from her daughter's school. She doesn't know who any of these people are. She doesn't know where they came from. She doesn't know their background. She doesn't know what they did in the country they just left. But here they are in a Republican area. You see, people, this is why I didn't go along with what Greg Abbott has done here. Now, I live down here in Texas. Greg Abbott is the governor down here. And I was totally against what he has done because either he's complicit or he doesn't understand the overall plan. Those people are not going to be just confined to Democrat, okay? The Republicans are going to get this too. If Greg Abbott wanted to be heroic, he would have closed the border and saved us all this type of trouble, man. That's all he had to do, and just fought the administration. Tied him up in court forever. That's all he had to do. So either he's complicit or he's ignorant, okay? Now let me show that woman. I hope she's watching this, because I want her and the other American women to see what's coming their way, because we are the new Sweden now. Here's another story out of Sweden. This goes back to 2019. I told you people, I kept all these articles. I've been on this story a long time. Multiple rapes in Swedish towns prompt safety warnings. Okay? Police blasted for issuing safety warnings instead of increasing police presence. Uppsala, Sweden. I hope I'm saying that right. Uppsala, Sweden. After 4 rapes in as many days, police in a small college town in Sweden are warning women to think about how they behaved. On August 7th, a 25-year-old woman was attacked by a lone man in what police are calling an attempted rape in Uppsala. The man grabbed the woman in an inappropriate way and after the woman fell, he fled. Police were unable to locate him and have no suspects. This is the fourth sexual assault in almost many days for the college town of about 170,000 people. The attacks began on August the 3rd with the attempted rape of a woman. Around an hour and a half later, another woman was raped. The third woman was raped on the night of August the 4th. Local police are telling women not to be concerned, but to take precautions to protect themselves. Women in town should not be worried, but must think about how to behave, the police said. Perpetrators are looking for solitary men and women, so it is important how to move. Feel free to walk on illuminated streets and not alone in alleys or parks. Feel free to talk to someone on the way home. Ask for a push or go collectively with established company. This is how they have to live in Sweden, people. And this is how you're going to have to live in Staten Island. To that lady who we just saw talking. This is how you're going to have to move around your neighborhoods now. We take security creating measures, but we cannot be in all places. Both men and women have to think ahead. You see, the Islamists over there, the ones from Afghanistan, they like little boys. That's why they're throwing them in like that, because they rape the little boys. This is not the first time police have warned Swedish women to protect themselves. In March, women's rights group blasted law enforcement for giving out safety advice instead of increased police presence. After a poll revealed 4 out of 5 schoolgirls felt unsafe. Maria Gadimi, a women's rights activist, told some newsletter, reducing girls' freedom of movement is a serious development. It is a structural problem that restricts girls' freedoms and rights, and in the long run affects women generally. Sweden has long held the reputation of being the rape capital of Europe. Let me say that again. Sweden has long held the reputation of being the rape capital of Europe. Recent figures show that from January to June, this is 4 years ago, the number of rapes and sexual abuses jumped by double-digit amounts. Okay? Now this goes all the way back. It said others point to the influx of Muslim migrants. Of course that's who's doing this. Okay? Sweden has conquered territory just like us. And to the conqueror goes the spoils. So they feel it is in their right to rape women in Sweden.
110,000 migrants. We have to feed, clothe, house, educate the children, wash their laundry sheets, give them everything they need, health care. And this team here, we stated, let's do everything possible before we have to push it out into neighborhoods and communities. Month after month, I stood up and I said, this is going to come to a neighborhood near you. Well, we're here. We're here. We're getting no support on this national crisis, and we're receiving no support. And let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. One time we were just getting Venezuela. Now we're getting Ecuador. Now we're getting Russian-speaking coming through Mexico. Now we're getting Western Africa. Now we're getting people from all over the globe have made their minds up that they're going to come through the southern part of the border and come into New York City. And everyone is saying it's New York City's problem. Every community in this city is going to be impacted. We got a $12 billion deficit that we're going to have to cut. Every service in this city is going to be impacted. All of us. And so I say to you, as I turn it over to you, this is some of the most educated, some of the most knowledgeable, probably more of my commissioners and deputy commissioners and chiefs live in this community. So as you ask me a question about migrants, tell me what role you played. How many of you organized to stop what they're doing to us? How many of you were part of the movement to say, we're seeing what this mayor is trying to do, and they're destroying New York City? It's going to come to your neighborhoods. All of us are going to be impacted by this. I said it last year when we had 15,000, and I'm telling you now with 110,000. The city we knew, we're about to lose. And we're all in this together, all of us. Staten Island is saying, send them out to Manhattan. Manhattan is saying, send them out to Queens. Queens is saying, send them out to Brooklyn. No, it's not the game we could play. Open the floor up.
All right, let me close out by saying this, people. You need to hear what Eric Adams said over and over again, what he just told you. Because what he just told you was the truth. What he just told you was the plan. The only thing he left out is that it is meant for the whole country instead of just the state of New York. That's the only thing he left out. But it's the left that's always going to tell you the truth. It's not going to be the right, people. The right is out of power, and they'll never see power again. So you should never pay any attention to the Steve Bonginos, the Steve Bannons, or whatever name, Dan Bongino, Steve Bannon, all those people on the right. Don't listen to them, okay? They're either complicit or they're ignorant. The left is in power. They can tell you what's next. And that's what Adam just did, okay? Now, it's no coincidence that he just left Israel before he came back and told us all this stuff. I reported the story. I told you Adams just went to Israel to receive instructions from his Jewish masters. He came back and told us that New York City would soon be destroyed. That's what they told him to tell us. You don't have to, people, this is not as complicated as the right wants you to believe. This is a form of warfare that's being wrapped around your neck. Now, if you don't know how to get out of it, it's going to strangle us to death.